William Wallace, The Battle to Free Scotland, illustrated by Teresa Martinez. William Wallace was a Scottish warrior who lived 750 years ago. When William was young, Scotland was peaceful. But then the king, Alexander III, died suddenly. He had no children to become the new king or queen, so Edward I, King of England, invaded Scotland, determined to rule over both countries. King Edward defeated Scotland's army and stole the Scottish crown jewels and the Stone of Destiny. Then he went on a triumphant victory march through the country to show that no one could stop him. Before King Edward left Scotland, he commanded his officials to keep taking money and crops from the Scots so that he could pay for a war with France. He wanted to show that he was a strong king who the Scots had to obey. William Wallace watched the people of Scotland suffer under English rule. Their food was taken though they were hungry, and they were severely punished if they stood up to the English forces. What William saw made him deeply angry. "We cannot stand by and watch the English army's terrible cruelty," William urged his friends and neighbours. "Scotland must be free." William led a growing band of rebels fighting back against the English soldiers, and in one uprising he killed the High Sheriff of Lanark. The news spread and inspired rebellions in other parts of Scotland. Knowing that he would be severely punished if he was caught, William became an outlaw. He and his fellow fighters planned more attacks from their forest hideouts. During an attack near Stirling, William rescued an orphan called Callum, who'd been punished by soldiers for begging for food. "Are you the William Wallace people are talking about?" asked Callum. "I wasn't sure you were real." William laughed. "Lots of English soldiers know the point of my sword is real enough." Callum looked about. "Your army's not very big." "Aye, we're just a small band. Just ordinary folk from villages and farms," William grinned. "We're not rich or powerful, so we have to be clever." Just then they heard galloping horses. "Callum, hide," William ordered. "Everyone, get ready." The lead rider put up his hand in greeting. "Friends," he called, "my name is Sir Andrew Maury." William stepped forward. "Sir Andrew, I have heard of your success against the English further north. What do you want with us?" "You have had many triumphs too," Sir Andrew replied. "But King Edward is sending a huge new army to crush our rebellions." William nodded. He'd expected this. Sir Andrew continued. "They are gathering at Stirling Castle as we speak. I cannot defeat them alone. Will you join me?" William thought. Sir Andrew was a rich knight who had soldiers, armour and war horses. Yet even his army was no match for thousands of English troops, and William's men had never fought such a huge battle. Still, he was determined to try. "We will join you," he replied, and they shook hands. William was already thinking ahead. "Sir Andrew, who commands this English army?" "The spineless Earl of Surrey," he replied. "The Earl came to Scotland once before, but he left because he didn't like the weather." "Let us give him reason to leave for good this time," said William. Travelling at night so they wouldn't be seen, William, Sir Andrew, and their combined army marched towards Stirling. "We will be outnumbered," Sir Andrew warned quietly. "We need a plan," William replied. "My hope is we can find a lookout to survey the landscape before the battle, but I do not know this area well." Callum piped up beside him. "I'm from Stirling, sir. There's a hill, the Abbey Craig, that gives a view of the castle and the whole valley." William clapped him on the back. "Good lad. Take us there, Callum." They reached the top of Abbey Craig, and when the sun rose, they had a sweeping view towards the English army camp. "This is the perfect lookout, Callum," said William. He narrowed his eyes at the thousands of heavily armed English knights, archers and spearmen around Stirling Castle. "I think I can see how we might take them by surprise." Before long, scouts told the Earl of Surrey that Scottish rebels had arrived on the Abbey Craig. He rode across the river to confront them. "Rebels," the Earl said with disdain, "you can never defeat us. I command you to surrender." William stepped forward. "We are not here to make peace, but to set our country free. Go ahead and attack. We are ready to meet you, beard to beard." Furious, the Earl of Surrey rode back to the English camp, vowing to fight the very next day. One of his knights offered to show him a ford further up the river. "Perhaps, my lord, we should wait another day and send some soldiers to cross at the ford, as the bridge is so narrow." "A waste of time," thundered the Earl. "The Scots are only a rabble. Tomorrow we cross right here and we will destroy them." As dawn broke the next morning, the English army began marching over the bridge 2 by 2. The Scottish army were desperate to attack, but William held them back until the bridge was full of English soldiers. Then he turned to Sir Andrew's men and his own. "You have waited with honour and patience. Now fight with pride. Charge!" The English soldiers who had crossed were outnumbered. They tried to flee back across the bridge, but it was blocked by soldiers who were still marching over. Some began leaping into the river to escape. The Earl of Surrey could see his army was trapped, in chaos, and beaten. "Destroy the bridge so the Scots cannot follow," he ordered, before galloping off in retreat. "Stirling Castle is ours," shouted Sir Andrew. "William Wallace, your plan has brought us victory." "Rebels have to be clever," said William, winking at Callum. "Because this lad led us to the Abbey Craig, we saw that the land was on our side." Callum blushed as William turned to his men. "We watched, we waited, and we won. And of all the things to be won, I tell thee true, freedom is best." Sadly, Sir Andrew Maury died from his injuries a few weeks after the Battle of Stirling Bridge. His death inspired William to fight even harder for Scotland's freedom. William was knighted and made the Guardian of Scotland. Sir Edward I struck back with all his might, and despite William's courage, the Scots were beaten at the Battle of Falkirk. William was forced into hiding. Eventually, he was betrayed and captured, then taken to the Tower of London. William was charged with treason, but at his trial he declared, "I could not be a traitor to Edward, for he was never my king." He was found guilty and hanged, drawn and quartered as an example to frighten other Scottish rebels. But William Wallace had shown that clever rebels could triumph over a stronger enemy. The people of Scotland learned that lesson well, and Robert the Bruce went on to win Scotland's freedom. William Wallace is remembered in Scotland as a great hero. You can visit the Wallace Monument on the Abbey Craig near Stirling Castle, where William planned his victorious battle.